Welcome to Eye on Nigeria, otherwise known as Eye on Rubbish. But anyway, let's get started. We're talking about the issues that are going on in the northern part of the country and also in the middle belt, where there's a lot of ethnic violence and a lot of people are getting killed. It's even beginning to encroach into the southwest with like a lot of Fulani herdsmen and things. General unrule and disrule in Nigeria, and also the problem in the northern part of the country where Boko Haram seems to be rising again, especially close to where Niger is and Mali. What are your thoughts, Kunle, in general?
In general, when you look at Boko Haram, I first of all I Googled how is Boko Haram funded. And they said, criminal activities, bank robberies, and terrorism and human trafficking. They did not mention that French company Lafarge is being sued in France for giving Boko Haram billions of dollars in the early 2000s. Billions. They've been sued for it. That's how Boko Haram are funded. Now, there seems to be a disconnect between Trump and the CIA. I believe that the CIA has a different foreign policy to Trump. And because of that, they want to invest in America, but their own idea of investment is investing in the puppet leaders so they can keep them under control and extract resources and force...
Like Tinubu and Go.
Yeah. Exactly. Tinubu has been accused of being a CIA asset. The Scott chap, one American chap, there have been calls even today, as recently as today, asking that they investigate the congressman's words that he said that the CIA is funding Boko Haram. And I think that because America has pulled out through Trump with funding Boko Haram, France has had to step up because it's France's interests that are being troubled. I have no qualms that the French government in some way, shape or form is heavily involved in managing the resources for Boko Haram to be able to defeat armies. I mean, they're defeating armies. You don't steal enough money to defeat armies. Otherwise, the mafia would be running rampant.
They're not. Let's put it like this: they're not funding their army through small cells of Igbo. You know, that type of money. Real money. And let's not forget though that before Trump came in, U.S. aid was giving a lot of money that was being diverted to Boko Haram. Also, along with
it's not only that the weapons. Apparently, they're not using Russian weapons. They're not using
some of those weapons are actually weapons that were worth. They pretended to sell them to Ukraine, to give them to Ukraine, and they were diverted to these people. Yep.
They're U.S.-made weapons. They have better. The soldiers.
Oh no, Russia won't do that because Russia is trying to shore up that area, the Sahel, and also France. That's why they're trying to kill the leader, the great leader Traore. They're trying to kill him. Yeah. So it's part of their general strategy to destabilize that area and to frustrate and to keep Boko Haram there, to keep the area destabilized so they can continue making money. But their ultimate goal is to control that Sahel region, which will not happen anyway. What are your thoughts?
That's right. I mean, ECOMOG used to be enough to keep that region under control. That happened until about 2009.
Yeah, that was before
that first. That's when
France and America started pumping in money. Before France and America started pumping in money.
So that's the birthplace of it, I believe. And I believe, I do not know for a fact, I believe in the allegation, but I accept the fact that it is still mere allegation. But let's have these hearings. Because, I mean, what happened in Maiduguri, the rise of Boko Haram, the issues surrounding, but I think they're all connected.
Oh, they're connected. Follow the money.
I think they're all connected. So let's have that hearing. Let's have that hearing because I think that if Boko Haram and Tinubu and all these allegations turn around US and France and Lafarge and all these things are going around, let's have an investigation and find out what's going on. I've seen senior army generals say.
So what this means is that on two levels, Tinubu is guilty of treason as far as I'm concerned. Number one, by looking away the other way and not containing this Boko Haram thing because he's under control of France, where he's going every week. I don't have proof. That's what I believe. Second of all, what's the second reason? What else is he doing? I can't think of the second part. But what are your thoughts, Sai? I forgot my second thought.
Yeah, I quite agree with what Mr. Kunle said because the signs are there. All the investigation, all the allegation, and even I remember that UAE, they already gave our Nigerian government some list of sponsors of Boko Haram. Till date, nothing happened to them. Till date, that shows how serious and how complicated the whole thing is. Our government, people in this present government, they are funding them. So as it is, nothing is going to happen to Boko Haram. They know that their financiers are in the government. So they are getting first-hand information on when and how the military is going to attack them. So what are we saying now? Of recent now, the governor is already complaining that Boko Haram is gaining ground again. All the ground that they collected from Boko Haram, now they are taking it back, and our government is there just doing nothing. So
it's crazy.
I don't even want to investigate. I mean, look at Tinubu. Tinubu was caught with drug money in his account, and a Chicago court let him go because he decided to not collect that money to avoid criminal prosecution. So they've got him under the thumb. They've got him under their control. But the thing is that he's under the control of the Democrat wing of the controlling party. Trump is ideologically opposed for whatever reason, and also probably doesn't understand. But I feel that by the time he does understand, he'll start using Tinubu as the Democrats have used it before. I think he just doesn't understand.
I think I'll give credit to Trump. Trump is practical, which means he obviously, if he can make money off of Boko Haram doing this thing, he'll do it. But he knows it's a waste of money because Trump knows logistically that
I don't think there's anything Trump can do.
So, but he doesn't have anything to gain from it, and Trump is smart enough to know that it's a pointless. All that Boko Haram can do is to make Nigerians suffer. It can't get back France's minerals. France will never get their minerals, so they're wasting their time. So the only thing they have to benefit is that they're selling arms to Boko Haram to fight Nigerians. But there's no strategic or tactical end game for this. What's the end game? They're not going to win anymore because China and Russia. Military bases where?
Have bases in Nigeria. That's the excuse for them to have military bases.
But they can have bases in Nigeria. But even if they have bases in Nigeria, Nigeria is already their territory. So why do they care? Because they are not going to be able to beat Mali and those countries because China and Russia have those guys back and will actually go to war for those guys. Nobody's going to attack Mali and Burkina Faso and those countries. That's what I mean. So if they want bases, then what's the purpose of the bases? If they have a base in Nigeria, can't they just say, can we come to Nigeria? What would be the purpose of them having a base to Nigeria? Just to make sure that Nigeria doesn't join Mali and them? Is that what it is? Yeah.
I think it's the attraction of the oil. They want to maintain a military.
Oh yeah, they want to secure their oil and Nigerian resources.
They want to secure their oil
and some mineral resources.
Yeah, so that's what they want. So for everybody listening, Nigeria is a territory of France. Nigeria is the new Francophone country because the Francophone countries left. So this is the disgrace of Nigeria. The Francophone countries liberated themselves from France. And so Tinubu bent over and showed his ass. He said, come and fuck me. You don't need
that's why you can see that Tinubu is going to France like every now and then.
So Tinubu is now, because England has nothing to give America, to give them, and America has nothing to give him. So now he sold Nigeria to France. That's the title of our show.
Not really give him. He just be back.
I think France is not spending the money this time.
That he needs.
Yeah, but they're giving him backing in return for the resources, so he sold Nigeria.
Of course. The backing doesn't come free now.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts, Kule?
That's exactly right. He's trying to sell Nigeria down the river, and France is trying to step up and take up the void that was left by USA. So it might also be the Americans that, you spend money maintaining the influence there. We've got our soldiers there. You pumping some money to maintain it. It could be just that, and America still is interested.
Remember, Trump is moving away from dependency on other countries' resources, especially with his tariffs. So he's not interested in Nigerian oil as much. But he'll say, okay, France, you guys can do that. We'll give you the soldiers and we'll get a small cut. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And
but the thing is,
but it's not even Trump. Like you said, it's CIA and State Department people. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that the oil that Nigeria supplies is Bonny Light Sweet Crude. It's the kind of oil that you need for military weapons, for jets and stuff. America doesn't have crude oil of that quality to produce that sort of fuel. So Nigerian crude oil is very important to the US military machine. But again, as you say, Trump is supposed to be the man that doesn't like military. So
Trump is actually cutting American military spending a little bit. He's not focused on military. He's focused on, even though I don't agree with his tariffs, he's focusing more on that than on military, because I think he realizes, I think everybody realizes it. It's already been shown by top economists. The U.S. empire is finished, so they can't rely on military. US military power will never ever rise again. It's
So what would
over.
they rely on if they got no military and they've got no
No, but I'll
manufacturing?
tell you what they have to rely on. See, the U.S. will no longer be an empire. The U.S. doesn't need to take other countries' resources. The U.S. has everything. It has oil. It has uranium. It has everything.
Yep. Yep.
So it's cool. Let me give you an example. Cool. If you have one wife and you have a Mercedes and you have oil, that's better than saying I want to now have 6 and 15 wives, 30 cars. So what? So America just has to reduce the scale, but it will still be a rich country. Canada is
Of
not
course.
big like Canada is not big like the U.S., but it's a rich country. Nigerians go there and enjoy. So the U.S. will just be a smaller country like Canada, but they're still enjoying. So my point is that the U.S. doesn't. Let me put it like this: the U.S. doesn't is not in as existential crisis. There's no existential crisis in the U.S. U.S. is richer than Nigeria, is richer than most countries in the world. It has the largest GDP, and even if it stops controlling world resources, it still has enough resources so that it can live well as long as it humbles itself. Do you see what I'm saying, Kunle? The U.S. was
Yeah.
doing well before it was an empire in the 1950s. Even before World War II, Americans were still richer than the rest of the world. It's just that they've become greedy, and in order to sustain their
Exactly.
greedy lifestyle, they want to be an empire. So what? They don't need to control other countries' resources unless they want to be an empire. But why would you want to be an empire? Empire is violent.
Agree.
It's greedy. It causes the U.S. doesn't have to be an empire. Look at Russia. Russia's GDP.
That's why I agree with Trump.
Yeah. So Kunle, Russia's GDP is nowhere near America's, but Russians live better. Then Russia's
Well, the
not
thing
trying to
is,
be. They're not trying to be a. They're not trying to be empire. What they're doing is they're collectively working with the world. That's the only option the U.S. has is to collectively work with the world rather than to try to take other countries' resources, trade with them fairly, and work. The reason they don't want to do it is because they are racist white supremacists. What do you think, Kunle?
but when you look at the U.S. economy, when it really exploded was during and after the war when it started
Yeah,
supplying
yeah,
to European
Hold on
markets.
just for a second. Cool. It exploded. It exploded. But before that, it was well. Before the war, the U.S. Americans were doing well. 2 children,
Yes,
a
they were
car.
doing okay. I
No,
don't
yeah,
disagree.
yeah, but that's all you need. What else do you want? They were doing okay.
It,
Here's
well,
what I
it
mean.
went even, it excelled.
Yeah, but but my point is that they don't need that growth. They don't need that growth. All they need to do is
Yeah.
maintain what they had before World War II. That's enough. 2 and a half children, a
I
nice
quite I
car.
quite
Yeah. They don't need to explode. The reason
I quite agree with what Mr. Mustafa is saying.
yeah,
They really don't
they
need
don't need
all
to
that.
grow.
They really
They
don't
don't
need
need
all
it.
that at
For
all.
example, I have a nice room. I have a place where I live. I don't need to live in a mansion. I have a car. I have as much beer as I want. I have Netflix. I don't need
Yeah.
more. So the U.S.
basically
doesn't
like
need more.
The Chinese are like what you're saying. They have everything they need.
Exactly.
They don't
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
So
everything
the
extra.
U.S.
More.
They agreed. They wanted more. They wanted to destroy Russia after World War II. They wanted to destroy Russia. That's why they pumped up their economy.
I
And
think
so,
I think I think
But the
I
problem
think
with
you
that
can
is
say
that
all.
that to many Americans sounds like communism.
but here's the thing. Here's what
I
it
mean,
is.
you're right, but I'm saying that's how it sounds
Yeah,
to them. That
but
how can
here's the real
anybody have
reason.
the same money?
Yeah, but here's the thing. The American government is scared that Americans will start to love communism and socialism. So that's why they
Exactly.
fight. It's because they don't want their own house to change because they want to control Americans. They want Americans to be their slaves and to depend on the
That's
government.
precisely it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
it
so it's
in a
not
nutshell.
so that expansion is not good for America, but it's good for these people to because what they want to do is control Americans, and then give them free resources for other countries so they won't rebel against them. But in reality, the U.S. needs to spend its money on schools. I keep saying it on schools, on roads. For example, every country in Russia and China they have trains that can go 400 kilometers per hour. So, for example, now if they had that train here, I could go from here to New York in 30 minutes and come home and work. If I go from here to New York, it's 6 hours. So
Yeah.
once they have high speed trains in the U.S., you can work 3,000 kilometers away from where you live and come home the same day and still make money. The
Yeah.
economy will grow. Could you imagine being able to go to Abuja from Abuja to Lagos in 1 hour? Can you
You
imagine
see,
that?
that's the culture of the American dream. The American dream is about ultra wealth. It's
And
not
also
about
and
making
also
people well.
the car companies don't want people to rely on high speed trains because then the car companies will lose money. So it's greed. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
they're trying to sell a dream of that everybody can become opulently wealthy.
yeah.
And because of that, they've created a culture. I don't think you can change that culture overnight, especially when they've so
No, it's gonna
demonized
be
the
difficult. It's
concept
gonna be
of
difficult.
not even communism, even socialism, the
Yeah, so
concept of democracies and Western democracies practice.
yeah,
Even
because
that
at
has been
least
demonized in
some
America. And
European
it's
countries are
simply
they're socialistic like Sweden. And they've shown the
yeah,
numbers. the average person in Sweden lives to 85. The average person in the US lives to 75. It's dropped by 3 years. The US life expectancy dropped by 3 years over the last 3 years. It's dropped by.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if we're in the 60s in America discussing socialism now, the FBI would be all over us.
oh no, they'll come and kill you. They'll come and put you in jail because
We'll
it's
be in trouble. Not even
it's
for
the
discussing communism. Just
okay, we'll probably go to side. It's the same thing that if let's say Kunle, let's say you, me, and 1,000 people in Nigeria start discussing, and we say that Tinubu is corrupt. We need to stand up for Nigeria. They'll do the same thing in Nigeria. So U.S. is just like Nigeria. When the people in power know that you're trying to help the people, they kill you. They killed Ken Saro-Wiwa. They killed Delegiwa. Anybody that speaks the truth, that wants to help the country, they kill them. What did they do to Fola Rotimi, the guy? They put him in jail.
Yeah, but I don't think I want to say that we are in the 21st century. That ideology, I don't think it's going to work now. Look at how people and Africans are supporting Ibrahim Traore upon the fact that we know that it's a military and he came in through coup, but because they see what he's doing, that he's actually trying to take care of.
For the first time,
going to go against it. And I believe that
Africa's hero is anti-democratic. He's anti-democracy. Well, he's actually democracy, Traore, because he has the support of the people. So there's a democratic spirit, even if it's not voting.
Yeah,
it's still democratic.
Yeah, they're trying to demonize him. It's quite funny.
Of course, they will.
The more they try to demonize him, the less it works.
It's part of what we discussed in our last podcast, that they will try their best, but if he can continue the way he's talking directly to the people, using his social media and internet and everything, like hearing directly from him, I think the Americans or the Westerners, they will find it very French, they will find it very difficult to kill him. They will try.
He declares his income. All his assets are worth about $160,000. He's cut all the senior politicians' salaries by about 30%. He's increased civil servant salaries by 50%. He plans to have elections and to leave at some point. He wants to.
I saw a video where he built all these tall skyscraper housing yes, now and that is exactly what we need, because now that we are even facing serious real estate problem in Nigeria and Lagos right now, our government are just, oh my God, I can't.
The problem France have is that he's now told France that if you want to do business with us, return the stolen gold back. And France are saying, no, that is our gold, that we mine it in France, but there are no gold mines in France. So
oh my God. No, Kule, there are no gold mines, no mines.
There are no gold mines in France, And then Burkina, he's saying, give us our stuff back.
Only golden haired snow bunnies. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before on the show, that the way that these Francophone countries got their independence in the 1920s, when racism was like the norm, they were told that they must deposit all their reserves in France.
Yeah, in France. When I'm reading it, I'm always told like,
Yeah, and they must use French franc up to today. Even though the French don't use French franc, the French use euros, but you are still putting French franc inside your reserve bank in France in order to be granted your independence.
Well, it just means that they don't have money. It's just paper, and then France will give them some small resources. Give them.
And then what they do is that all those leaders like Mobutu Sese Seko and all those corrupt leaders, France make sure that you can have your money in your Swiss bank accounts when you come to the West. You can stay at the Riviera. You can stay at Monaco and Biarritz and have a good time. Nobody will disturb your government money. And then and so long as you do that, they'll give you your bribe. That money won't even enter Africa. Those politicians already have their bank accounts. They're just going to do a safe transfer. I'm not saying this is true, but like when Tinubu went to France, I said that he needs $500 million for the Nigerian students because without it they can't eat. Or something stupid like that.
Can you imagine?
And I remember I was thinking probably that money.
It's like me wanting to do cocaine and do ashy. So I go to my uncle and say, I need money for my son's school fees. So then when they give me the money, I go and have.
I'm sure someone will come out. And say, what I'm saying is not true. That look at where the money, that we can trace the money and we can see where the money. Even if that's the case, there'll be some other money collected.
They've done studies. They've done studies. before Tinubu, up to $30 billion of U.S. Africa aid ended up. They said it was by mistake. It ended up with Boko Haram, but they didn't say that it went directly to them. They said it ended up with Boko Haram.
Yeah,
through Nigerian politics.
How difficult is it for you to even accidentally give someone 5,000 naira? Talk less of accidentally giving someone $1 billion.
And then the U.S. and then what the U.S. said was that is that we gave it to Nigeria. Nigeria gave it to Boko Haram. So the U.S. is saying and France is saying we know deal, but
you know how that's how you know when you're if you want to give somebody money like you didn't know and you just drop. I don't know what fell down there. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see it pick that up. Come on. I mean, it's all allegation, but I mean, because they're refusing and resisting investigation,
we have to think critically. We have to think critically. Everything that we talk about in the world, none of it is proven facts, but some of these things we know that they're believed because you look at history, you look at, and what will happen 30 years from now, they will say, oh, yes, it was true. So we can look at the pattern, things that were happening before. They say, oh, yes, it's true. We killed Lumumba, sorry.
But before then, they'll go and lock you up for 10 years.
Yeah.
Then
when they killed Lumumba, they said if they lied, we didn't do it.
They're so sorry.
Yeah,
they'll give you posthumous award.
Yeah, can you imagine? Do you know what they did? The people who killed Lumumba, they gave his teeth to his children and said, we're sorry. They gave his teeth, his real teeth, because they took his teeth as a reward. And they said, oh, sorry, here's your dad's teeth.
They dissolved his body in acid.
No, but they took his teeth before they killed him because he had gold teeth. They took it from his mouth, his head, and they kept it, the white people. Then they gave it back to his family in a box. They would say, oh, we're sorry.
I saw during the slaughter, the genocide of King Leopold in Belgium. I saw a tribe sitting down and looking at the severed hand of his 6-year-old daughter, and the rest of her had been killed with the mother and devoured. And they just gave him the hand to look at.
Can you imagine?
And that was very
these people are demons, man. They're demons. You know, black people, we're evil. Not evil, but black people, we do each other wrong, but we don't do things like that. We don't do things like that. Can you imagine, for example, look at South Africa. And
the man was just looking in shock. His face was expressionless.
No, they were trying to torture him mentally. All right, so let's end very quickly. Now we don't even. Yeah, let's talk quickly about